Our next speaker is Bradley Gay. Bradley Gay is a previous speaker and maybe a good candidate, but he is not running for office. He is president of the Freedom for Americans, an organization he recently co-founded, along with several other freedom-loving Americans that have had enough of the government leadership intruding on the rights of individuals. Their mission is to restore the free society requirement of a constitutional republic ruled by we the people, not we the government. Please give a warm welcome to Bradley Gay.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Mike. So as Tim said, we're with Freedom for Americans. I'm not running for office at this time. And the point to be made there is that Freedom for Americans is me, but it's also all of you. We are all Americans. We all want freedom. And that's what our organization is all about. It's all of us joining together to start turning this thing back. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen with a magic new election or somebody else just popping into office and making it. It's going to take years and years, but we got to start somewhere, and this is where we're starting. We're a newly formed organization. We need all the support we can get. So I have 4 children, and we have a lot of flashcards in our house. They're ages 5 to 13. And I noticed there was a box of presidential flashcards. So I went through it, and I said, now who are some of the real good presidents we've had over the past 75 years? So I skipped past Barack Obama. Eventually I got to this guy right here. Does anybody know this guy?
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. In the past 75 years, we have not had a more pro-life, pro-Christian, pro-democracy, pro-capitalist, pro-constitution person that ever ran for president. And how many states did he win when he ran for president? He won 49 of the 50 states. So the whole idea of we can't talk about social issues is not true. We need to talk about social issues. That's what people care about. Yes, we care about jobs and the economy. We care that we're protected, but we also have to care about those issues. So Ronald Reagan said, there are no easy answers, but there are simple answers. We have to have the courage to do what is morally right. The current leadership and media classes are an antithesis to the American founding principles and to the vast majority of American people. And this election is the most pivotal of our lifetimes. For the majority of us, the world is drastically different than when we were growing up. We've been lulled to sleep, and we are the frogs in the boiling hot water right now. The government today is larger and more intrusive than back in 1964. It is ready to replace the family and traditional morality with a cold central government state that trades you temporary free things for control of your lives. Yet in 1964, from Ronald Reagan's most famous address, he said this: the issue of this election is whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite, I like that word little by the way, in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them for ourselves. Has anyone found a doctor that just loves Obamacare?
No.
Raise your hand.
If the majority of doctors are unhappy with Obamacare, how is this good for the health care of women? The greatest story in 150 years is that the most free land in history is being transformed before our eyes to one of forced obedience to Washington, and the mainstream media ignores this. Yesterday, if a man's actions were consistently the opposite of what he said he was going to do, he would be shunned, ridiculed, and cast out of office. Today, he is celebrated, seen as a reformer, seen as someone who has such an idealistic end in mind that he is able to administer any means to achieve it, no matter what the cost to the American people. This election is about having the courage to do what is right, no matter how you feel, and no matter what pressures come upon you from television, your family, your co-workers, or your friends. Our purpose now is for our children and our grandchildren, for the majority of us. Any government that would even have the thought about taking away freedom of conscience has decided that it is not going to represent the people, but has a strategy to dominate us through manipulation. I know some of these things are hard to hear, but they're true. Most of our local representatives and senators support these violations of First Amendment religious freedom under the pretense of women's health. They try to paint those that oppose it as attacking women and the right to make their own health care choices. This is completely false. But if a lie is told enough times over and over again, the perception is that it becomes real. We are a nation run by we the people, and our government needs to get back to those three simple words. It is not the government's job to protect you from every possible circumstance that could befall you. It is the government's job to protect your individual God-given right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To protect your right to freedom of religion, speech, assembly, petition the government, press, the right to bear arms, the right to a fair trial, the right to belong to a state that is not being attacked by the federal government, the right to protection from foreign enemies, and the right to not have the government spend the people's hard-earned tax dollars like drunken sailors would play Monopoly. It is not the government's job to run your health care and your religion. It is not the government's job to tell you how to build your house. It is not their job to prevent private enterprise from producing products that people want to buy. It is not their job to define marriage. It's not their job to tell you what you should eat in your lunch. It's not your job to determine what kind of soda you should drink. It's not the government's job to tell mothers how to feed their babies or what practicing faith means to you. These decisions are owned by we the people, right here. It is the government's job to protect and empower the human person, to provide an environment that enables the unlimited potential of each and every one of us to be liberated and do great things in the name of science, manufacturing, technology, and art. There is no limit to the capacity of people except of those limits forced upon us by others. We need leaders that unite us instead of divide us, that edify us instead of belittle us, that see the beauty in each and every one of us instead of seeing us as the problem, that promote our lives and not our deaths. We are the engines of prosperity. We are the ones that built the businesses. We are the ones that love God and defend our families. We are the ones that love the principles of America, and we are the ones that can bring America back from the brink. We must not stand for the attacks on our individual liberty any longer. Here's the litmus test for each and every candidate that we press the lever for in the voting booth. Will they follow the Constitution of the United States, including the Bill of Rights? The Constitution is not an academic piece of paper. It is the only thing that stands between us and a society enslaved by government fiats and the horrors that come along with all of those regimes. The Constitution protects the freedom of human beings, young and old. When we require our leadership to follow the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, we're talking about protecting millions of children and grandchildren around the world. Thank you. The current administration has set the Constitution on fire, and those in the Senate and House that can hold them accountable refuse to throw water on it because we have to pretend that the administration is nice. I'm sorry, when they damage the Constitution, they're not being nice. When they damage the Constitution, they damage your homes, your businesses, the military, doctors' offices, and churches.
And they should be impeached.
They damage the fabric of society. We must have leaders with the courage to stop them. This isn't a game, this is a fight for America's soul and the individual human freedom that millions have shed their blood to preserve. So we have a leadership vacuum, and it is back to us, we the people, to resolve on behalf of our families and ourselves. It will not be mainstream media holding them accountable, it will only be us. It will not be the political parties holding each other accountable, it will only be us. And this is why Freedom for Americans was born. If you are with us, and we need you to be, become part of us with your time, your talent, and your donations. We need leaders to stand on principle, on ethics, on morals, and on virtue. We need leaders with courage and strong vision for the future. We need leaders that will directly confront the dismantling of America, halt it, and build it back up, no matter what the cost to their social status. Leaders that have moral integrity to follow the boundaries of the Constitution as they swear an oath to uphold and defend when they enter office. Will they uphold and defend the individual liberties that are given to us by nature's God, and no man or woman has the right to take away from any American citizen? This is the litmus test of a candidate that we can vote for in good conscience. We can turn this around, but it will take every one of us. Freedom for Americans is moving, and we are holding leaders accountable if they do not hold up the constitutional rights that we deserve and that we're guaranteed. Please join with us. God bless you, and please pray for the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Brad has brought to us some more things that we can do, a litmus test for our candidates. We are presenting these candidates to you for you to evaluate against those criteria and many others. Right now,